Didn't want to have to talk about this, but I think I might have to because of the information that's being put out. So what I'm here to talk about is this Tory Lanez and Meg Thee Stallion situation and the jury, which to some extent, I think I'm running the risk of a lot of things, but I'm gonna try to tiptoe around a lot of things because I've heard that he did the crime. And so I do want to talk kind of on them charges. If Tory Lanez or any of his associates or his managers or something feel offended by this, I mean there's by no disrespect. Rock Nation, I'm going to be careful what I say, but there is stuff that people are claiming about Rock Nation, and I do want to talk about that when we talk about this conversation of Tory Lanez and Meg Thee Stallion. However, I do want to say that Jay-Z name was brought up in it because Jay-Z is seen to be the face of Rockefeller. Desire Perez, I believe, is the current CEO of Rockefeller. So I'm going to talk about that, but I want to clarify the difference because there was an allegation that it was Jay-Z and that they're just putting in Jay-Z. And a lot of people do not know the faces of these record labels because they are the faces, but there are people that they're like the CEOs, the RAs, the stuff like that are very important to know about before we just attack a person because their affiliation with a label and Universal Music Group. I mean, no offense in anything I say. This is just me clearing the air before I get into the topic, and this is me not picking sides. I'm just genuinely gonna be on the evidence side of things. So, with that being said, let's see what my sponsors and I'll get right into it.
Hey, it's Kaylee Cuoco for Priceline. Ready to go to your happy place for a happy price? Well, why didn't you say so? Just download the Priceline app right now and save up to 60% on hotels. So whether it's Cousin Kevin's Kazoo Concert in Kansas City, go Kevin, or Becky's Bachelorette Bash in Bermuda, you never have to miss a trip ever again. So download the Priceline app today. Your savings are waiting.
Go to your happy place for a happy price. Go to your happy price, Priceline.
Okay, so it is Friday when I am recording this. And so the verdict just came out a few hours ago. So there are things that I do want to discuss before I get into this that I think is very important. The first thing I'm going to discuss are the charges because people are assuming that he was charged with shooting Megan Thee Stallion. Right, and so there's some rumors that are 3 felony charges that he is facing, but they don't necessarily pertain to the shooting of oneself. So we're going to talk about this in that aspect. So the first charge he got is assault with a semi-automatic firearm, which this is a hard thing to disprove, I think, because the charge is that he had a firearm in his possession, but that is a different charge. That he shot somebody, that he shot towards somebody with a semi-automatic weapon or caused some harm, which to some extent we could say is them saying that he shot somebody in the foot. Now, I was not in the courtroom, so I cannot say what the jury's reason was for giving Tory this charge. However, there is I think it's more than 55% probability that this happened because they are felony charges. So you have to prove with certain proof that they have done this crime. Now, why does this crime matter to Tory Lanez. Tory Lanez, now I don't know if many people knew, but he was technically on probation because of another assault that has happened that he was in court for. Now that's and we'll get to that situation of why he probably didn't take a stand, and we're going to all of this. And I'm not a legal expert, so I just want to verify that before we get into this. And people say, well, no, you was giving legal advice. I'm not. Not at all. He says the second charge is carrying a loaded gun, unregistered firearm in the vehicle. Okay, so I've heard rumors that the firearm they believe belonged to Tory Lanez. However, I've heard other people in other people's accounts say that the gun belonged to the driver or the bodyguard of Magnus Iron. However, he was not there to testify, so we don't have his we do not have his we don't have his testimony, so we cannot say at the moment whose gun it legally was. And they said that it was unregistered. They said that the gun was unregistered, but it was in the vehicle with him, and they're claiming that I guess they're saying the vehicle that they were driving in was Tory's vehicle, so they're assuming that the gun belongs to Tory Lanez. Which, to some extent, I think we understand, because they had 40 things of evidence. 40 things for evidence that we just didn't see because it wasn't televised. Like this was not televised to look into the courtroom and the jury. You can find transcripts, but I don't think you can actually, because people were not able to record in there. And discharge of a firearm in grossly neglect. Now this could be why the testimony of the witness, where he said that he saw Tory Lanez shoot in the air wirelessly, is why they probably charged him with that crime. Because there are a lot of people saying that he got the gun. That's established that he had the gun in his possession. He carried it, knew it was loaded, and then he shot into the air. That's all I've been accounted for. Now, they were trying to, and I think, now I'm sorry if this is not what Tory Lanez and his team were going for, but I think the reasonable doubt isn't what I would go for in this case. I think I would go for because I think discharge with a firearm with gross with gross neglect is gonna be something that you're not gonna be able to avoid, because the neighbor said that you shot into the air recklessly, right? But I think at the same time, it's that evidence. That evidence is telling, but it's not telling enough, right? So I gotta explain why I think I'm gonna take this of why people assume he was found guilty. People assume that he assaulted an semi-automatic firearm, that he caused damage to somebody, and that might be Megan. We're not sure. He might have injured somebody's cat when he was discharging neglectly, gross neglect. So we're not sure what that is, right? But I think this is the thing. I don't think Tory Lanez was gonna get off on this discharging of this firearm. I just don't think he was gonna get away with it, and I think that was gonna end up being my problem if he got convicted on that or not. I think there's no way to get around that, and I say this because I'm not trying to be biased, but I do think I don't think there was a way to get around that. So you're looking at these other two charges, and you could fight possession of whose gun it actually was and an unregistered firearm. We could argue that, right? You can argue that in court. And I don't know if that reasonable doubt argument was going to hold. I think there's questions about the vehicles and stuff like that, and why he was, there are questions. And then there are people, and I do want to make this clear, there are people that are saying that people that don't necessarily read transcripts, that are saying that they convicted Tory without any evidence. I think they assume that the charge was attempted murder or attempted murder, because attempted murder basically is you attempted to try to kill somebody, And he wasn't charged with attempted murder, so I do get why people are upset, but I don't think attempted murder is with the intent to kill someone, and they didn't charge him with intent either, because intent is hard to prove, because everybody was drunk, so the intent would be hard to prove to me. I think, you could try to prove it. You could argue that, he had got caught cheating, so then he was angry because that's what I'm saying. It's very hard to prove intent to me. I think you could try to prove it, but there'd have to be a lot of evidence to prove intent, like text messages and stuff like that. People are talking about this phone call or text message he apologized to. The text messages I have not seen public anywhere, so if people have seen it publicly, please let me know or send it to me, because I have not seen them screenshots public anywhere or in the phone call anywhere. But as I said, he could have been apologizing for cheating with somebody's best friend. That's what I'm saying. I'm not sure. Like, I would apologize for cheating, even though I don't agree with cheating. I don't know. So that's what I argue. And people saying that Meg Thee Stallion should be in jail for lying, and we're going to talk about that. I think the thing is, and so I'm going to talk about these lawyers' points of view. I think these lawyers' point of view is you don't want to give public information on the air so the defense team can argue something, can argue against your game plan to get the verdict that you're looking for, right? So I think she said no intentionally because she was under oath. Under oath, if you lie, that's perjury, and perjury carries, I think, 2 years, 1 to 2 years, which that is difficult to disprove. Well, it's not really hard to disprove. You can prove it, but you would have to do some searching. And so their probably verdict was, hey, if you don't want to answer a question, just say the correct answer you think that the air wants to hear. And maybe that's how that worked publishing wise. And I do want to mention, it is kind of weird that no one in any, and I think this is why people assume Rock Nation has something behind it, is because there is rumors that in another lawsuit that Rock Nation is the power behind that, right? And I get that, you want to protect your person, but you have to understand that in relation to it, Cash Money did not, when Wayne was being charged with a crime, he didn't really have Young Money to back him, right? So I think that's the thing. So people assume that it was backed by Rock Nation, and Rock Nation doesn't like Tory because he didn't sign a deal. That's all speculation, because there was granted that Rock Nation had tried to reach out to Tory, but this seems extreme because somebody didn't want to sign with you. So I do get that. Idea of, okay, maybe this is why it happened. Not entirely sure that's what happened, but I get it. And then people mad at Jay-Z because Jay-Z is the icon that came out of Rock Nation, not necessarily because he is the most famous, but he is the one that people assume is one of the co-founders of Rock Nation. And co-founders of Rock Nation change every couple of years, so Desar Perez might not be the co-founder in a couple of years. I think she got it in 2019. I forgot who had it before her. But they change every couple of years. So we will see, I think, overall. And so it is definitely weird to see that backing, but people assume Rock Nation was behind it because no artist would make a song about it, publicly talk about it, or they wouldn't answer questions unless you said something about it. But then as the case came up, there were less people that would say something and go against other people. It all seemed one-sided. And I get that. That does seem to happen, but people have their own opinions on things. Overall, I think this case overall is sad. I'm not sure what the verdict is going to be, but I think the overall thing of it was that okay, so before I talk about that, I think I had to talk about this first. So people said, why didn't Tory take the stand if he knew it was the truth? I was talking to a lawyer when I was talking about this, and the lawyer said that he said the dumbest person in the room the dumbest defendant in the room, no offense, but the dumbest defendant in the room is the person that takes up for his own defense, because that cross-examination is going to, the cross-examined by the prosecutor or the defense is going to ruin any credibility or ruin any favoritism that you have with that jury or that judge, because that cross-examination is going to make you look like a bad person, or the prosecutor is going to make you look like a bad person. So it's better not to take the stand and then just let your defense team back you. Now, do I think reasonable doubt was the best way to prove that he wasn't guilty of these crimes? Yeah, I mean, you could argue that it could have been. I just don't. That last charge of gross neglect, I don't think you can fight that charge. You might. I mean, seriously, you might be able to fight that charge, but I don't know what reason. It wasn't my client that shot into the air. I mean, you could argue that, but I don't know. Because if two people are saying it, I don't know how you... Two people that were in the scene at the time argue that they did have it. I personally just can't see you fighting that case and not get gross neglect at the minimum. But I think Tory and Megan seems got the verdicts that... Well, I know Megan seems got the verdict that they wanted. I think Tory Lanez is appealing. I think so. We'll see more into this, but I did want to cover that just in case people were not aware and thought the attempted, because people assume that attempted murder and I think they assumed that he was on trial for trying to kill Megan. He wasn't. That's why they say assault, not murder, or attempt to kill. Just. Legal jargon is just ways to phrase stuff. Like, what is a lawyer? To defend bad guys. Defend good guys and bad guys. Basically, it's just lawyer jargon to make it seem professional. Which I'm not saying lawyers aren't professional, but it's to make it sound professional because they go to school for so many years and they take the bar exam. So overall, does this make more sense than what people were assuming? Or did I just confuse everybody?